Hi, this is Garrett Collins. We are getting started with the female open compound division. I am joined with,
Alina Jonas, and
currently it is both Cumberland archers stepping up to shoot.
Nine.
So that was a strong 9 shot from our first archer. We're going to talk a minute about our personal experiences. Alina, what was your experience this weekend at Nationals?
I ranked 29 in the ranked match, 29 out of 49 in the women's fixed pin division, and then in eliminations, I got eliminated with a 110 the first round.
All right. How were those weather conditions for you this weekend?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
How are your weather conditions? I know a lot of people got mixed up with the weather conditions between practice and qualification days.
Yeah, practice was really, really hot, and then the qualification day, it was a complete 180, and it was actually really cold, to the point where in the end, like, the shivering was so bad, and I could barely keep a steady shot.
And you said you're fixed pin, so give a little bit of insight as to the differences between fixed pin versus what's going on right now with open compound.
Well, fixed pin they're restricted on the length of their stabilizer, for one. So fixed pin is allowed a maximum of 12 inches from the point where it connects to your boat to the very end, so that includes weights and everything. And we also are not allowed to have a magnified sight. We can have a sight with a lens, it just can't be a magnified lens. And those are pretty much the only differences.
Right.
And during the scoring rounds of the tournament, we're not allowed to adjust our sight, while open compound is. So if your aiming point is off, you just have to move your bow and hope for the best, pretty much.
And we just finished up this first end here. We're getting the official scores coming in just a second. And the rain's starting to seem to pick up a little bit, so we're going to see how that's going to affect our archers in these next coming rounds. So for fixed pin, it is a standard 3 arrows per end, shooting over 5 ends, so that's 15 arrows total out of 150 points. And X's break ties. So we're getting this score coming in. Very strong first ends for both the archers.
Oh.
And those archers are Danielle Woodie and Marissa Harding. It's looking like it is 27-28 in favor of Miss Harding, I believe that is. So 1 point difference, but there's still 4 ends to go. It's looking very good. Strong shot, 10 shot for Danielle. Another strong 10 for Marissa.
Almost the same place on the target, too.
I am an open compound shooter. I shoot on the male division. Wasn't the best weekend for me, however, team rounds yesterday went pretty well. Had a lot of fun there. We're going to improve, come back at our next tournament. Speaking of other tournaments, Alina, how does this tournament stack up against other tournaments you've shot at?
Could you repeat that?
How has this tournament stacked up against other tournaments you've shot at?
Well, I've only ever shot 2 other tournaments so far. One was indoor, and one was very, very small, certainly compared to this one. And so I didn't get the full experience that first tournament because of how few people there were in my division. So it didn't really feel like a competition almost. What about you? How is...
Oh, very good 30 from Marissa there. Myself, I've shot a handful of tournaments over the last several years. I'm not particularly new to the outdoor stage, and I'm not new to the national stage either. However, it's always a little bit nerve-wracking when you step up to the line, especially for that first and last shot. How you're going to – it tends to kind of – the first shot tends to dictate how the rest of your tournament goes, and then that last shot is usually either a relief or just you're glad it's over.
Oh, yeah, completely understandable.
Another very good end from both our archers. Those final scores are coming in now. If I'm not mistaken, that was a 28 and a 30 for that end for Danielle and Marissa, respectively.
So in the very beginning, Miss Marissa Harding was actually in the lead. She was the one in the lead by 1, right?
Yes, yes.
So now it is still the very beginning, but Miss Danielle Woodie has turned it around for now. Let's see if she can keep up that momentum of pulling ahead.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so right now it's a 3-point difference at the end of the second end. They're about to step up to the line for their third end. And the way this works for our gold medal matches is each archer gets 20 seconds per arrow, and every time one archer finishes their shot, the clock of the other archer begins. It's a very strong 10. And so there is a little bit of a pressure element, making sure you only have 20 seconds per arrow. You don't get a little bit of leeway of getting maybe your first shot off a little earlier and then having a little bit of time on your last shots. I myself know if I'm not drawing back by 15 seconds, I definitely start to get a little flustered.
Ooh.
Alina, I know a lot of archers will tend to count down the seconds in their head and correlate their arrows with a specific time, and they kind of have the timing down to seconds with each of their arrows. Do you do something like that, or do you do that itself?
Not really, because whenever I shoot the first arrow of an end, it's just a flow from there. Because I don't like to spend a lot of time in between each arrow, because then I feel like I lose the momentum of the shots. So I might take like 20, 30, maybe even 40 seconds before I even shoot one arrow. And then as soon as I shoot that one arrow, I just keep going, and I try to keep up that flow and that rhythm of shooting the arrows. Mm-hmm. What about you?
I kind of do. I don't take it down to like the individual seconds. However, I do try to just kind of keep track of that average time per arrow. For outdoor, when you're shooting qualifications, you shoot 6 arrows an end, which is a little different from our elimination rounds. And we have 4 minutes to shoot those 6 arrows. So if I'm not mistaken, that's about 40 seconds an arrow.
Yes.
So I usually just kind of segment out those 40 seconds apiece. Usually I'm well ahead of that 40-second schedule. However, I do try to keep that in mind, because I do know I can sometimes get to a point where I'm just rushing a lot, and it'll mess up my shots.
Yeah, I find that myself, when I look at the clock, I kind of over-exaggerate to myself how little time I have left, and then it leads to rushing my shots. So a lot of times I don't even look at the clock. From when I start shooting to when I finish, I don't even look at the clock until after I'm done.
Mm-hmm. They're stepping up for their fourth end. If I'm not mistaken, I see an elite versus a Hoyt, by the way. Miss Danielle shooting the elite, and Miss Marissa shooting the Hoyt.
Can you go so far as to tell what bows by those brands are? Or
Sorry,
what?
could you repeat that?
Could you even go so far as to say like what bows those are from their respective brands?
I believe that Hoyt is the Invicta or Invictus. I always say Invicta for some reason. And the Elite, it might be a result, or it could possibly be the Verdict.
It does look a lot like the result.
I myself shoot an Elite result, but I think it might actually be the newer flagship Verdict bow. So, Lena, you are a Georgia Southern archer, and it's being held here at Georgia Southern. What has it meant to you being able to shoot this prestigious tournament on your home field?
It kind of, not really sure how to describe it, but like, it's a national tournament, so it's a big deal. But I've also been told of last year's Outdoor Nationals, which was held in Chula Vista on an Olympic practice range, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And it doesn't really feel like it holds that kind of weight, because coming back to my own school to shoot, it just feels like like I'm just coming back to my school to shoot. It doesn't really feel all that special. But then I see all these people here, and people from MIT, people who drove 10 plus hours to be here. It's reminded, oh yeah, this is a national tournament.
Yeah, it's always that weird feeling that sets in. It set in for me kind of towards the end of qualifications of just how many people are here. I think part of it was because qualifications were split up between men and women, and in several of our last tournaments that we've shot at, everyone's just always been at once. And so having men and women split up, it kind of diminishes those numbers.
Yeah.
But then you realize you get to eliminations the next day, and you see all 112 bales used, on most of them having about 4 archers per bale. You just realize just how many people are here. That wraps up the fourth end with 112 to 116 in favor of Marissa. I believe that is Marissa with the 116.
It's been really close between the two of them. Like, one will pull ahead, and then the other will pull ahead, and then the other will pull ahead. It's just been back and forth between them. So this will be an interesting final end.
Oh, yeah. We've talked a bit about the qualification rounds, but looking at those elimination rounds when it's kind of a do or die situation where like you could just stop shooting entirely at the end of that round. What goes through your head when you know that pressure has increased from qualifications to eliminations?
When I know that pressure is increased, I just get really stressed out, and I can't aim as well, and I can't keep my bow steady as well, and basically I just don't shoot as well.
Which, funny enough, I actually experienced a little bit of a different feeling. I've noticed a trend in my scores is during elimination rounds, I tend to have a little bit of a better score. Whether that's because I'm just shooting fewer arrows, whether that's the pressure being put on, I'm not exactly sure. However, I do tend to shoot a little bit better. It's been a very strong fifth end, finishing out these scores.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
That was a beautiful shot to end on.
that was a beautiful ending shot.
And that wraps up the women's open division. When Marissa turned around, she had the biggest smile on her face.
Oh, yeah, I would
And
too.
that was over with. That was a great shot.
Oh, yeah.
Great shootout between two friends.